Ever wonder how the integration of inside sales organizations with marketing automation capabilities has changed as technology companies go to market? Welcome from the Technology Association of Georgia. It's Tuesday, April 21st, 2015, and this is Tech Talk. I'm your host, Frank Baia. Founded in 2004, N3 has a 10-year track record of successful technology software and manufacturing demand generation. It employs highly skilled, customer-focused people worldwide with a uniquely successful ability to deliver in over 70 languages. Up to the Tech Talk, just what impact has cloud had on sales strategy and Salesforce execution? And how does technology companies talk with customers and prospects in today's geo-digital economy? We speak with Chief Executive Officer and co-founder of N3, Jeff Laue. Jeff has more than 25 years' experience in management, business process transformation, and sales and marketing strategy development and implementation. He has set the course with the company's vision and strategy for ensuring revenue impact for his clients. And under Jeff's leadership, the company is experiencing significant growth over the last decade, expanding globally and serving leading technology software and manufacturing companies. Prior to founding N3, Jeff was a consulting group partner at Computer Science Corporation. He also served as an executive with Siemens Business Services, and early in his career was in channel development for Sun Microsystems, as well as for several technology startups. It's a tech talk on inside and outside sales and how they are used to support driving new revenues, and just how inside sales evolved to support the technology industry, driving revenues for cloud technologies. As we speak with industry visionary and thought leader, nationally recognized executive, N3, Chief Executive Officer and co-founder, Jeff Laue. This edition of Tech Talk is brought to you by GlobalSpeak.com, new media consultants, corporate video and audio communications, video and audio production and distribution, live and virtual event production. Tag TV and Tag Radio is a service of GlobalSpeak.com, creatively delivering powerful marketing, video, and audio solutions. Jeff, welcome to Tech Talk.
Hello.
It's an intriguing subject. I think it's on a lot of people's minds, especially small to medium-sized technology companies, even the bigger technology companies for that matter. I guess what we're talking about would be the whole idea of getting an understanding about the interaction between technology and the services, say, for example, that a marketing or even an IT consulting company would provide, especially relating to sales and marketing strategy development.
Yes. Are you asking what types of service they provide?
Well, what are some of the things that I think a lot of potential prospects, clients maybe even specifically, are looking for as far as those kind of services?
Okay, I think right now with where the technology industry is, it's moving so quickly because everything's moving to cloud-based type offerings in the technology industry, which means the monetization model has changed. There's a proliferation of services and technologies, and so the number one thing that clients are looking for is speed to market and cost reduction for the IT services. From a marketing standpoint, we work almost exclusively with software and technology companies, and so what they're looking for, these companies, is to be able to do full sales cycle, to combine marketing and sales, and that's a lot of what has happened in the industry right now, is that you need to be able to take a digital marketing email blast and tie it to your sales effort and be able to go full sales cycle with their existing sales force.
I think traditionally it used to be said, the clients would say it either needs to save me money or make me money. And I think by and large what you're saying is that in this whole concept of process transformation, a lot of the synergy is really pulling both sides together, the IT and the actual the processes and the technology that drive the industry, and then the applications and the technology that implement the marketing and sales revenue. Maybe, and correct me if I'm wrong now because that's my perspective on it, but go into a little bit about the challenges. I mean, when you're talking about businesses today, having to deal with, there's a lot of hyperbole. There's a lot of issues in terms of, something so new and changing so quickly. We joke and say it so last 20 minutes ago. What does an enterprise leader do in terms of facing the challenges? And then kind of drift into a little bit about Is there help out there? How does a business find, say, a partner to work with that can help overcome the challenges?
Okay, yeah. No, I think you nailed it on the head. The reason the transformation is happening so quickly right now is that right now in the technology industry, with everything that's about the cloud from a technology perspective and speed to market, you're doing both things. You're saving money and you're making money at the same time. It used to be a business transaction would happen for an industry leader, whether you're an enterprise or a mid-size or small-size company, and you had to pick, are we going to try to make more money by adding more costs? Are we going to try to save more money by reducing costs? But what I see for anywhere from small, mid-sized to large companies, you're kind of making decisions that might save you operational costs that, if done correctly, add such efficiency in how they impact what you're doing, that you're serving your customers better, faster. And so the decision comes down to, if I make this change from a technology standpoint, how am I going to change the organization without impacting the culture of the organization? Because people will change, but they'll only, their roles, their job, their livelihood, what they're doing has to be more iterative. So I think that the number one thing that keeps most industry leaders up in this fast pace is, okay, I do want to save money and I do want to make money faster, but how in doing this do I maintain my culture? And then the question is, how do you find help and where do you look for help? A lot of it comes through, organizations like TAG, or the American Marketing Association. It comes through if you're implementing a technology, whatever the ecosystem partner is, the largest company, whether that's an Oracle, an SAP, a Microsoft, or smaller companies, who are their partners and who do they recommend? Mm-hmm. And then, here in Atlanta, there's a number of great strategy firms and a number of great traditional technology implementation firms, small and boutique.
Well, you mentioned culture, and I think it's kind of almost a little bit conflicting in terms of, I'm thinking oxymoron when you talk about process transformation and the dynamic fluidity. You use a lot of buzzy terms, but the reality is, again, if I'm an enterprise leader and I'm trying to deal with transformation, should I be concerned about the culture? And I guess really where I'm headed, obviously I need to be concerned, but I would assume I need to be reasonably flexible in adopting to, say, the trust and the expertise that comes in from, a consulting firm like N3.
Oh yeah, no, you must trust in the person you bring in to help with the domains of change from a operational or technology perspective, but you must trust your gut from a human instinct mm-hmm. and behavioral perspective of how you can change the organization. You kind of keep your eye on, you got to keep your eye, situational awareness as to what's going on. So when you bring in a firm like N3 from a consultancy standpoint, and we come in and we're going to help outsource a large part of your sales process, we're sensitive to the cultural change and what we're asking to happen, but we're always constantly going to the highest level executive that we're dealing with and saying, okay, what do you think? If we do this, are we asking them to outsource something? What's their comfort level going to be? What type of activities are you going to reallocate them to that has a higher revenue impact to your organization? So that's kind of how we deal with it with the firm, and how we request our clients deal with it, and how I recommend anybody running a business deal with it right now. I'm
not exactly sure if I'm precise on this, but it always comes to mind that a quote that Steve Jobs said about people don't really know what they want until they see it. My question again goes back, and we talked a little bit about cloud, obviously, but when you're talking about the impact that cloud has had on, say, sales strategy and Salesforce execution, are you running into an enterprise that really gets it enough to understand these quote-unquote transformations? And, does the technology company, how do they talk with their customers and prospects?
Well, I think I like your quote. Most people like anything that Steve Jobs said.
Yeah, really.
But if you say most people don't know what they want until they see it, the same way is with the automation of the sales process, from digital with the automation through Marketo, where you're able to do lead scoring, tying inside sales to outside sales. When somebody embarks on one of these projects or changes, they like the concept because they're back to your intro points. I'm going to save money. I'm going to be more productive. I'm going to save cost. But they're not going to like it until they see it, and I'm not sure everybody understands as they make the bold decision to go through it. But once you go through the process and all the stakeholders involved, from the managers to the users to the prospects to the prospects and the clients, see the benefits because they're using it, then most of the time they like it. You know, the people that are the traditional outside sales reps of an organization that are, oh, you mean I'm going to get more leads and they're going to be opportunities and they're going to be scored and I'm going to be able to have help doing that. It's going to move faster. I'm going to more accurately, rapidly hit my sales revenue. Yes. Oh, and you're going to be able to pay me better because I'm getting able to focus more on the producers than the non-producers in sales and more efficiently do that. Yes.
Okay, so I'm thinking of another quote. I can't remember the movie, but what was it? Show me the money? Is that the best incentive going, I guess, in changing a culture is if I can teach you better habits and get you to experience the impact of a new technology and it makes you more money, would you be willing to do that?
That's right. And that's if you look at the best transformation, you get to the monetary rewards, whether monetary be cash for individuals or business or better impact on their job, and if everybody's more productive, it equals more compensation, more promotion to the individuals.
I guess proof of concept makes a big difference when you can show a track record, but I'm still enamored by the fact that, you know, here's an enterprise operator, a leader, a CEO, a CIO. They're trying to run a business in this dynamic environment that is constantly changing. Their competition is not even the same people that were the competition last week, and things are coming out of them that they hadn't anticipated or planned for because nobody could. And yet you start talking P&L management, you're talking operations, strategy formation, channel and sales operations. I guess I'm still enamored by how do you build that initial trust to be able to get that kind of integration into an organization where you can really form that quote-unquote partnership that you're talking about.
Well, I mean, I guess if you're speaking, there's two sides of the coin. If you're speaking about a prospect or a client that's going to embark on a transformation and wants to bring in some technology and bring in an outside firm, you know, the way that they do it is kind of the old trust and deliver model, where they're going through the process of educating themselves on what they want to do. The consultant is learning about their environment. There's a dialogue. They're learning about what the consultancy has done or hasn't done, or what the software or the technology has done or hasn't done. So there's some trust building that goes with that, and along with that process, it's a courting process. It's like a dating process. You're seeing, hey, yeah, I do trust them, and what they've said lines up, and then you you're driving down the road looking at the light posts on the side of the road, and you see the direction that it's going, and it's congruent for both organizations. So that's where the trust and the business proposition line up. Make a decision, and you go for it.
You know, as you're talking, I'm thinking, am I really ready for the car to park itself? You know, am I prepared to trust that technology enough that I can let go of the steering wheel and really hand it over? And I guess one of the touch points is getting to the, you know, you mentioned it earlier, but I think sales is something that everyone, certainly the leadership, and in many cases the sales leadership, can understand and draw an analogy. Maybe focus, just as we close, a little bit on the integration of inside sales organizations. Again, as you mentioned, with marketing automation capabilities, how are companies, how do they, you know, has that changed how they go to market now?
Yeah, it really does. At the high level, what's happening with all the CRM and the marketing automation and the stuff like inside sales, Power Dialer, and the other list ratings, and every bit of technology that the predictive analytics software, some of which we do and have offerings. what it's done is it's changed that things are more automated. The productivity of the individual is way up, and what happens is if you have a strong individual on the sales team, they're able to do better with their strengths. Obviously, if you have somebody that's weaker, you're going to find it out quicker as an organization and be able to correct. And then, lastly, what it does is it tightly integrates marketing and sales together, where there's no longer a wall between marketing and sales. And so, back to your analogy, is everybody willing to take their hands off the steering wheel and let the car park itself? Yeah, there's the innovators, and there's a lot of innovators that do that, and then the rest of the market will follow.
Let's close with continuing with the focus on driving new revenue. We've just talked a little bit about going to market, but I'm still fascinated by the inside and outside sales impact, especially involved to support the technology industry, and specifically, how do they drive revenue in something like cloud technologies? Okay,
how does the technology enable that, or how do companies enable that?
How companies enable that. Obviously, part of it would be they implement the technology, I assume.
Well, yeah. I mean, the way it helps them drive revenue is they implement the technology. And what effectively happens if you have somebody selling to clients, it can go up by a magnitude of, 80, 90% the amount of clients that they can contact. Mm-hmm. If you have somebody that was doing inside sales for a company, they can also totally develop efficiencies around who they're contacting, so they're not cold calling, or so that they know when and who and how to reach the economic buyer, or the user, or the legitimate technical buyer of an organization. And so all these technologies help develop the efficiency to get to people, to communicate with people, to figure out who you're communicating with, why you've communicated with them, and integrates this.
Curious, as we close, Jeff, in terms of looking out, we used to be able to say a 10-year marketing plan, 5-year marketing plan, strategic planning for at least, I think now, as I mentioned earlier, it's dangerous to do it more than 30 or 60 days out because of everything changing so quickly. But what happens, we're not talking about proprietary technologies. In each one of the spaces that you're talking about, there may be 3 or 4 leaders within a marketplace that has a dozen different options. So, at some point, everybody's going to be armed in a way with the same tools, maybe different brands. But, how do you get a unique selling proposition in 5 years when basically I'm thinking the CEO has a Hal, not a Jeff, that says, Hal, how much sales do you want today? And it just automates the system almost robotically. So I guess my question is, what does it look like in a few years when a lot of the things that are new and have a cultural resistance become ubiquitous and everybody starts using them?
What happens for the overall marketplace?
How do you create a unique selling proposition? Does it go back, Big Bang? Does it go back to personalities and relationships?
Well, no, it's all the selling situation will always be unique based on the perception of the brand and then the dimensions of value add. So when you think about the selling process, what's most important is the message, the relationship, the perception of brand, the understanding of what you're trying to do with somebody's product or service. So the automation and the cloud, that's not going to change that. That's going to put a greater focus on that. You're going to get to that sooner. So when everybody gets normalized, and whether you're selling cars or you're selling software, you're selling homes, it's going to be, do you have the message? Did you communicate? Did that provide value? What's my perception of the brand? And, price is always a component of it. So I guess it gets you to core value add of your product or service quicker with your clients. And so I think it's a good thing. It does create more competition, but innately, if you're doing something well, this technology transformation's going to make you a leader faster. And if you're not doing something well with your prospects and clients, it's probably going to hurt your revenue faster.
Well, one of the things that I've always felt as being my own self an entrepreneur and a leader is that I want options. I want to know what choices I've got, and I don't want to know it after I've made a decision. And it sounds to me with the kind of dynamic, fluidity. I mean, we talk about, again, all of these buzzwords. I think it's phantasmagoric. I mean, when there's so much change happening so quickly, a lot of it can't even be anticipated. Why anyone would want to travel through this journey by themselves and not have a trusted ally, someone like an N3 that, been there, done that, and is dealing with a number of different client challenges that lend towards best practices and, and the sharing of information and intelligence, not confidential, but experience-wise. It would seem to me that I can understand why you're enjoying such success, and I can also appreciate the fact that you've got a lot of challenges and opportunity ahead. Jeff, thank you so much for taking time out of, I'm sure, a very busy schedule to join us for a few minutes today on Tech Talk.
Okay, thank you for taking the time to have the conversation.